Really looking forward to catching up with this brother, hip hop legend, hip hop pioneer. He's been on my show before, and he is back again. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Schick, how are you, brother?
Doing all right, man. A little tired, but doing all right.
Yeah, I know it's a little bit later out there where you are, so I want to thank you for jumping on the phone with me and having a cool conversation about some early hip hop.
All right. I'll help you out in whatever I can. You know, when I left the game, it was about 1982, and that's when I moved to South Carolina. So if I can help you out with anything, it would probably be the more early stuff.
That's exactly why I have you. I don't know if you keep up with the hip-hop world and what goes on. I'm sure you know Fat Joe, obviously, hip-hop pioneer, Latino pioneer.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's been under some scrutiny. He's gone viral this past 24, 48 hours for a comment he made. And I would love your opinion on it because you were there, you know, pre-81, which is the perfect time frame when hip-hop was being created, when hip-hop was started. But Fat Joe said that blacks and Latinos are responsible for creating hip-hop 50-50. And that was his quote, in end quotes. And for some reason, that's gotten a lot of people upset. Some are agreeing with him. But you were there, Mr. Schick. And
well,
can you please give us your point of view on that comment and maybe, you know, give us some backstories?
Yeah, well, check it out. There's a few, you know, because you catch Busta Rhymes talking about it. Not about Fat Joe, but about Puerto Ricans and Caribbeans and blacks, you know, were there from the beginning. He's online. I've seen him on Instagram talking about that, you know, in one of his shows. And also Grandmaster Caz. Just recently, it's funny you talking about that because I ran into something where I should have saved it, where he was talking about it, and from the beginning he was saying, you know, hey, Latinos and blacks, you know what I mean? Specifically Puerto Ricans, because we grew up together, man, in the Bronx, all over New York, really. But you know, to say that we weren't there, you know, the crazy thing is, you know how Latinos can look white, and they can go all the way to the spectrum of so black they look blue.
Yep.
You know, from straight hair
Roberto
to
Clemente,
hair.
Noriega.
Yeah.
People don't know that Nori is a Latino.
Yeah, Nori. Yeah, Nori's Puerto Rican, man. You know, and the thing about look, Lloyd Banks, half Puerto Rican. Jim Jones, part Puerto Rican.
DMC from Run DMC.
Well, check it out. Look at this. Jim Jones, part Puerto Rican. His middle name is Guillermo. So how more Latino? You know, Marky D from the Fat Boys. Look, the first Puerto Rican rapper. Well, the first Latino MC credited, you know, was Prince Whip-a-Whip. You'll find it all over social media.
Whom I've had on my show as well, yes.
You know, you also had Ruby D. But look, Prince Whip-a-Whip and another, that was Kaz's, he was with Kaz at one time. Another guy, he's half Puerto Rican, half Cuban, DJ Disco Wiz, who was with Grandmaster Caz before he was Grandmaster Caz when he was Casanova Fly. They were the Mighty Force crew, you know. Then you also had Junebug, who was the house DJ at Disco Fever, the famous Disco Fever, you know. Yeah. You got Charlie Chase from the Cold Crush. You know, like I said, you got Ruby D, you got Whip, you got from the Fearless Four, you got Devastating Tito, the Master OC. You know, then look at this. A lot of the early hip hop records from Profile, from Enjoy, from Tough City Records was done by a Costa Rican / Panamanian dude named Pumpkin. He was responsible for many early rap records.
Damn.
So you can't say we weren't there. The only thing is, these guys, some of these guys look black. So you assume that they're black Americans, man. You know what I'm saying? So when media and people outside the Bronx see this in other states, in other countries or whatever, they see a color on a skin and they just assume this guy's black American. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you know, and it's hard because when people are reading things that other people wrote that aren't even part of the culture, that they're just writing things down because they're a news person or whatever,
Yeah.
and they're writing the stories from their eyes, not from the actual people's voices.
That's why I wanted you on my show, because right now we have 22-year-olds arguing with Fat Joe on what Fat Joe remembers. And I'm like, he was there. His cousins, his uncles were there. That's why I said, I need you on my show, because we can't have these 22, 23-year-olds out there running with some sort of narrative.
Well, the 22, 23-year-olds, when they were born, hip-hop was already established, right? Or what they listened to.
Right.
The rap portion of hip hop, right? When I was born, there was no such thing as hip hop. I was born in 1957. I'm going to be 65 in December. There was no such thing as hip hop, you know? And then in 71, I got into graffiti, man. And while I'm into graffiti, a few years later, you start hearing music all over the streets. You know, this phenomenon that we know today, I've seen it in its infancy. You know, I've seen this thing happening in the streets, in the parks, you know, in house jams. And, you know, and it's crazy now when I look around and I see this and I'm like, man, these kids have no idea. You know, when they find out, that I was an old school rapper, you know, they're like, the first thing that comes out of their mouth, you don't look like a rapper, but damn, you know, I'm 65 just about. You know, what am I supposed to look like? Like I'm 20?
Right.
You know? But yeah, we were there, man. We were there.
And you know what? You mentioned, not to cut you off, but you mentioned graffiti, and that leads me into another portion, because you also mentioned, you know, that hip hop is 4 elements: b-boying, graffiti, DJing, and rap. And I think what people are only focusing on is the rap part. And this is why I also want you here as well, because you mentioned graffiti. I can almost guarantee that there were just as many Latinos hitting up as there were blacks doing graffiti and DJing and b-boying. Am I safe in saying that?
Yeah. Look, let me tell you something. If you're going to take the elements and break them apart, say hip hop is a house and the house has 4 rooms. Okay. The first room that got filled up was graffiti. Graffiti, man. It was there before all, you know, the development as we know it of hip hop. Because graffiti, you had New York City graffiti in the late 60s, you know, all the way. And I got into it in the 71. So I was still doing it with the first tier of New York City graffiti writers. You know what I'm saying? So I was with the first, how do you call it? Yeah, the first tier of graffiti writers. And then after that, then you have another generation and another generation. So I was there, you know, and the thing about it is in graffiti, there was blacks, there was Latinos, there was whites, Chinese. I mean, there was everybody. And so the first room of hip hop was filled up by a bunch of nationalities. You know, not just blacks and Latinos. There was everybody. You know, and the crazy thing is, you know, though, everybody got along, man, because in graffiti, it was all about the art. It didn't matter that you was black, you was Latino, you was white, you was Chinese. Yo, you got down, you were down. And that was that, you know, that's so when you say, oh, these people don't belong in, you know, they're guests in hip hop, you know, they need to say they're guests in rap, in the room of rap or whatever, because the room of graffiti welcomed everybody. As long as you threw down, you were welcome. You know, everybody, you know, and this separation came on as everything got jumbled up together. You know, it's like, yo, you know, like if you're not black, you're a visitor or you're a guest or whatever. When the first room was filled up by all nationalities, which was the room of graffiti.
I love how you broke that down. Now let's parlay that into telling everyone your importance of hip hop, because it is safe to say that you were the first person to mix English and Spanish on record.
Yeah, I was. Well, check this out. I was not the first person to do it on record. I was the first MC to do it on record, because you had parody records by comedians and all that were Latinos, and they weren't part of hip hop, but they try to, how people thought it was a trend, so they just jumped on the bandwagon. But I was the first MC to put Spanish lyrics on a record, as far as a rap record is concerned. Yeah, so I was the first MC to do bilingual rap on a record.
And that's why Mellow Man Ace had you as his biggest inspiration. And I'm so glad that I was kind of the bridge to connect you to. And it's just so happened that the forces, the good spirits in the air, the good karma just wanted you two to meet.
Yeah, it's crazy, and the funny thing was, when he told me, hey, if you're ever in Cali, let me know and I'll come by to see you. I'll come wherever you are. And I was like, yo, this is funny, because in a few weeks I'm going to be in California doing some graphic work for BMW out there in Palm Springs. And he came down, man, and we chilled out for a while, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we did meet, and it was all because of you, man, but really because of you and one of my younger cousins. He saw your show or your interview of you and Mello, and he just tagged Mellow Man Ace and just thanked him, man, and that started the ball rolling. And the crazy thing is, like, after that, it's been almost 3 years or already 3 years. 3 years or almost there.
Yeah.
And every month I've been doing like 3 to 4 interviews every month for the past 3 years, nonstop.
Oh.
I think it's going to stop. I think like tomorrow, I'm going to be filmed for some documentary that they're working on. They're coming to my hotel. I just got filmed for MTV. It's a documentary series, and it's called De La Calle. So I'm going to be on the first episode, and you got Whip a Whip, Charlie Chase, Grand Wizard Theodore, and a lot of other Latinos, man. But they're all over the country right now filming other Latino pioneers from their countries. And then in 2023, it's going to come out on MTV. So there, and the crazy thing is, for people to say that, Latinos had nothing to do with it, it's insane, man, because, and like you say, it's all these people that when they were born, it already existed, man. They don't even bother to really go and backtrack, the history.
Yeah. And that's why I'm so glad that I have you on, because we need this history in the books. We need 50 years down the line when people don't understand hip hop or where it came from, or they see other people running with narratives, they can click on my video and hear Mr. Schick say, no, dog, we were there. We were just the biggest part, as the brothers were.
That's how it is, man. It's crazy, man. It is insane, man. But that's how it's always going to be like that, man. There's always going to be naysayers, and that's life,
Yeah.
What can you do? You just got to be able to set the record straight, man, because, you don't want future generations to be reading something that's false.
Exactly. And I love hip hop too much. I love the culture too much to let, a 22-year-old who knows nothing about it run with a certain narrative. I'm 45 years old. I grew up loving hip hop. Was my first love. I love hip hop to this day, and I'm going to make sure I keep the truth alive. And that's why I have Mr. Schick on my line. Tell everybody, where they can find you, what's coming up. If you want to promote anything, the floor is yours.
Well, really, man, I'm just taking it easy. But if you want to connect with me, I'm on Instagram, Mr. Schick underscore TMM for the meme machine. So it's Mr. Schick underscore TMM. Or on Facebook, you can find me as Mr. Schick of the meme machine. And that's pretty much it. You know, other than that, I'm just chilling. You know, taking it easy at my senior citizen age.
Hey, enjoy it, brother. I appreciate you very much, and I'm so glad you're starting to get to reap some of the rewards from you being one of the pioneers in this genre, in this culture, in this culture that I love. So thank you once again for your time tonight, and I will definitely be in touch, and I wish you all the best, dude.
All right, man. Thank you for calling, and anytime, man. Just feel free.
Thank you.
And thank you, man, because it all happened because of you.
Wow, that makes me feel so good, man. You just gave me chills by saying that. Thank you very much, brother. I'll be in touch, okay?
All right, later, man.
Peace, man.